commercial came on. I'm monitoring this on my phone. Okay, I think we're live.
Sorry about that little commercial.
Got to give everybody a chance to skip it. I didn't know that was going to happen.
Okay. Well,
Okay, can anybody hear us?
to those who have had a chance to skip the commercial,
We have Rogue Exploration with us from, let's see, that's Illinois.
yeah, that's right. He's right on the border there.
Not Missouri, that's Illinois. How you
Yep.
doing, Brian? And yep, Kari's here too.
Hey.
Oops. We are gonna today we're gonna be Jay Scott. How you doing? Today we're gonna be running our Blue Ridge Parkway video from start to finish as a Drivelapse. So basically, we took 12 hours of video and condensed it into 1 hour. And we got Roadway Wiz with us from New York. We got
Hey.
601 Travels from Mississippi. We got Clark Olson. So anyway, we're gonna start rolling the video because we only have about an hour. So uh, just sit back and watch.
And hold on, it's fast.
I am gonna pause here. I went too far. I'm gonna pause here on this map. If I can get it to display correctly. And the map shows the entirety of the parkway from start to finish, starting up near Richmond, Virginia, or just west of Richmond, Virginia, at I-64, all the way down across the state line into North Carolina, which is about halfway, and ending in the southwest corner of the map at Cherokee, North Carolina. That was 469 miles. This says 464 because something got messed up trying to get Google to display the whole route. But 469 miles. This shows 11 hours and 20 minutes of drive time. I think our drive time was closer to 13 or 14 hours, and that's not counting all the stops that we made. It took us 3 separate trips to make this drive.
It was the biggest project that we've done to date. It felt like we were never going to finish.
Yeah, it took us a long time. A year and a half, 3 separate trips. So now we're just going to roll the video. So if anybody's got any questions or comments, just chat away, and hopefully y'all can hear pretty well. Using a microphone here, and
There's one microphone and 2 of us.
hopefully the stream is working the way it's supposed to.
And the fog that's showing here the first day, we had no idea that it was going to be like that until the day we went out there, and well, gee, there it was. And it felt like it didn't go away till this was in mid-July, if I
End of July.
Yeah, so
End
it
of
was
July
like
2018.
it was the height of summer in the north western hemisphere, which is where that is. And this is the hottest part of summer in that part of the year, and so especially because we had some friends from Denmark who were there visiting us, and we had gone to a cat show in Virginia, so we wanted to kind of show them what the nice part of the country looked like. But it was kind of sad because they'd come from San Francisco, and they flew to New Orleans, and then we drove to Virginia, and now they were in heavier fog than they probably came from in uh, San Francisco, and it was probably colder back home, but it was probably easier to see. It was probably, less miserably hot than it was anywhere else in the country. But you couldn't, there was beautiful scenery everywhere, we just couldn't see it. And I was trying to explain what had to be out there to them, but really I didn't know either.
Well, from where they were from, they don't really have mountains. Everything's pretty flat, so it was a new experience for them.
I was, yeah, because they were telling, I think they mentioned that they'd been to the Alps, and that's really pretty much all that there is in Europe.
Or at least near where they are.
Yeah.
How is the signal coming through on this? Somebody give me an idea, because I'm trying to follow along on my cell phone, and I'm on LTE on my cell phone, and it's not doing too good.
It's so fast.
Yeah, I like the fast drive. It's like an hour-long roller coaster.
It doesn't even, it just looks like, it's kind of misleading because the whole thing, of course, this part here isn't really going up or down per se. It feels like it's all going downhill on this part.
Well, until we get into North Carolina, there's really not as much of the up and down. And Dave says that it looks good on his end, and the audio's good too. So I guess everything's working as we expected it to.
That was a weird clearing there. Just like suddenly nothing, but
yeah, the view, the Virginia Blue Ridge Parkway is much different than the North Carolina Blue Ridge Parkway. You see a lot of everything's just completely different. It's kind of hard to explain unless you've watched the series, and if you drive it, it changes so gradually you don't notice it, but when you go back to the beginning, you can see it's drastically different. So you see a lot more clearings and flat areas up here, whereas when you get down towards the south end, it's all mountains.
And the mountains are much more dramatic as far as their height. And
well, that's one thing that we couldn't capture on video, was just how steep some of these grades are as you drive up and down through these mountains.
Our car felt like it was legitimately struggling to get going, and then it was really kind of having a hard time slowing itself down without laying on the brakes. Didn't you have to go in fourth gear?
No, we were driving a lot in third gear,
yeah,
just off the gas, off the brake, and just letting the engine slow us down.
And that's the hard thing too, is this was over a year ago. This early part was over a year ago.
Midnight Mystery just joined us, just stopping by. Had no idea it was 469 miles long. This must have been quite a trip. Well, it was 3 separate trips.
Yeah, it was kind of a labor of love,
yeah,
if you will.
Yeah, it was just something we had to complete.
It was one of the first big journeys that we thought about doing when we started the channel. It was kind of one of those, oh wow, it sounds just like my dad now. It was one of those things where you dream about doing it. It's a big accomplishment, but something that you don't actually think you will ever have happen, and the opportunity presented itself, and so we felt we couldn't leave it unfinished.
And yeah, now we got our, well, and we were supposed to take video of this. never got around to doing it, but we have a sticker to put on the car right next to the 504 road trip sticker and the roadway with sticker and the 601 travel sticker that says, what does it say? We drove the whole Blue Ridge Parkway.
Basically, it's just the Blue Ridge Parkway. The sticker that you get at it just like says, I think it just says BRP.
I thought it said I drove the whole Blue Ridge Parkway. I thought
Yeah,
that
I
was
think
the
yeah,
point of it.
I got two stickers.
There's one that looks like one of those European stickers that they use to designate what country you're from, and it just says BRP, but the other one says I drove the whole Blue Ridge Parkway.
Yeah, and then we were gonna put that on our car and show ourselves, show us giving each other a high five. But then I'm like, I don't want to go on camera. I'm still kind of afraid, self-conscious of my appearance. So we thought, well, we'll do a live stream instead.
What we just saw there was the first and one and only tunnel on the Blue Ridge Parkway
In Virginia.
Uh, there's a lot more in North Carolina if you haven't seen the series yet. And I think once we get down to North Carolina, and I haven't watched the whole sped up video, but I think the tunnels are going to be rapid fire one after the other for about 20 minutes.
And I have to admit, I drove very little of this, and I wish that Jason would have had more opportunity to actually see what he was driving through, because it's really breathtaking.
That's why we have video.
Yeah, but it's not the same. Being there is not the same as watching it on TV.
Well, no, and I watch where I can see the scenery while I'm driving. It's not like I'm watching where I'm going most of the time.
Thank goodness you feel that way when you drive, and I don't, because, I mean, you saw when I was driving. Of course, I was not driving my own vehicle, and that was why I drove so poorly.
Yeah, the first part of this video that we shot in July of 18, we were in a rental. I think it was a 2017 or 2018 Dodge Caravan, and it's a big heavy vehicle with an automatic transmission. And when we got on some of the downhill stretches, the transmission couldn't slow it down. And I'm pretty sure by the time we got off the Blue Ridge Parkway, the brake rotors were warped in that van.
It felt like it.
Yeah, it was shimmying when you stepped on the brakes. And it's just the way the transmissions are made. You can downshift them, but it just does not slow down the vehicle. And yeah, I think people are going to enjoy the time lapse. 601 Travels just commented on that, because a lot of people just don't have the time it would take to watch this entire series. It was a long series. I'm sure a lot of people got bored with it.
We were getting tired of it.
I got extremely bored with editing it, because it turned out to be a lot more work to edit this series than it is to do any regular series that I've done. A lot more research, a lot more attention to detail.
And even though we put so much work into doing the series, we missed so much. And we realize now that it would take 3 times as long to redo it, because there were other things that we would have gone to look at had we known more about it. And it was almost frustrating, actually, like when we would go back to edit, now that we know so much more about what is out there and that we missed. It kind of makes me sad that we didn't put more research into the whole trip before we did it.
Now we've read the description of every overlook and every stopping point, and we had kind of looked at that before the trips, but we hadn't read them in the detail that we have now. And there's ones that, as we drove by and read off the description, we're like, damn, we should have stopped at that one.
And then we realized the ones that we did go to, were ones that we probably should have stopped, but we had to show them because we had missed so many of the good ones.
But yeah, this is one of those things that if you're just gonna drive it, yeah, you could probably do it in a day. If you want it in good light, 2 days. If you want to stop at the overlooks,
you need a week.
You'd need at least a week, especially if you're going to try to stop at all the overlooks, which I don't think anybody's going to do. But I see a lot of these people riding their bicycles and motorcycles, and you know.
If you have a motorcycle and are really skilled, I think this would be a good 1 week trip.
Yeah. This was just a little loop we did through the lodge, and it's one of the few places that's actually on the parkway where you can rent a room. It's very expensive. We stopped there to get something to eat.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Camilla and Anna, or Camilla and Anne, yeah, we're still with us here.
Yeah, this is still the first part of the trip.
Okay. Yeah, one of the women that was with us was a little bit demanding. I'm not gonna say anything further, but that woman might have actually been me. Actually, to say I'm kind of demanding is a lie. I'm very demanding, but.
So does anybody have any general questions about the Blue Ridge Parkway or anything else that we're doing?
Like, what are we doing next? We don't know.
Any
suggestions?
We just got done with cruising the coast. We spent 2 weekends out on the Gulf Coast in Biloxi. There's been a few videos of cruising the coast. That was all the material we got. And I did some angled video along Highway 90, mainly just to document the coast and what's on it, because I really wish I had something like that from about 20 years ago, before Katrina wiped everything out, because it's changed so much. But I'm running, it's going to be a 3 or 4 part series of the entire coast shot at an angle like that, so you can see exactly what's along Highway 90. And then what we have already shot that we haven't really even started to think about putting together into series yet. We have a lot of video around Minneapolis, and we had spoken with Roadway Wiz a while back about doing a special on the bridges of Minneapolis, and I just haven't gotten to do anything with it yet.
I keep realizing bridges that I've missed.
Well, we drove over
probably
a dozen or more bridges
of them,
over the Mississippi River in Minneapolis, and Roadway Wiz is the bridge expert, so we're hoping he can provide some information about each of these bridges, and we'll provide the video. So it'll be similar to what we did with the Mississippi River bridges of Louisiana a few years ago. Let's see, we have Wesley says the Mountains to Sea MST Trail follows the southern section of the parkway for miles. You can see multiple on-trail access points along the way, and I do remember seeing something about that. The Appalachian Trail follows the parkway, I think, the whole way. Of course, there's more of that north of where the parkway starts.
Yeah, it goes all the way up into Maine.
But the Mountains to Sea Trail, I saw some mention of that somewhere. There's a lot more to do in this area than just drive. And I mean, if you're into hiking, there's all kinds of trails. Every one of these overlooks that you stop at, almost every one of them has some kind of a trail, and it either connects with the Appalachian Trail or the Mountains to Sea Trail, or it's just an individual trail that takes you to whatever it is that you're supposed to be looking at.
I had never even heard of the Mountains to Sea Trail. prior to being on the Blue Ridge Parkway, and prior to starting this channel, I had never heard of the Blue Ridge Parkway because growing up in North Dakota, we had the Rocky Mountains literally at our door. And so anytime we wanted to see any major kind of mountains, all we had to do was go right over to Montana. It's one state over. So I wasn't, obviously I knew that there were mountains in the eastern part of the United States, but I honestly had no idea the scope and magnitude of the mountains that were also in the eastern part of the nation. So I was really, really impressed by this.
And this is only part of it.
Yeah, this is a small part of it.
I wish we would have gotten to go further north than we did, because north of the Blue Ridge Parkway, in fact, the two come together.
Real Appalachians.
Well, you have Skyline Drive, which is a shorter
part of the Blue Ridge Parkway. It's like the north part of it.
Well, it's not part of the Blue Ridge Parkway.
Yeah,
it's a completely separate thing. Yeah, it does. Yeah,
it's a different part of the Park Service.
Yeah, it's a separate park, but it's very similar to this. We went on it when I was a kid, and I don't remember anything about it. But actually, I say I was a kid. I was probably 15.
You were a kid.
Well, I was driving. I mean, I was old enough to drive, or I was almost old enough to drive. But, so I was probably 13 or 14. But Skyline Drive isn't as long as this. I think it's only about 100 miles. But it continues north through Virginia. And one day we might make it up there and drive that. This is also very similar to the Natchez Trace, which is closer to home. And we started the Natchez Trace a couple of years ago, and we had issues with the video, and so
we
only
lost
about
a big part of video.
I think we got about a third of it on our channel, and we do intend to get back up there and finish filming that. And I think when we do, we're going to research all the overlooks and stopping points and try to stop at more of them and get video out of the car.
Because that's actually what the cool part is. It still has preserved a big part of the actual Natchez Trace that people used. And you can get down in there and actually walk the same places where the people who used it as a trade route would use it back in those times. Is it route or route? Which is the way that I always get teased whenever I say it.
I say route if there's a number after, like Route 66.
Okay.
But otherwise, I pretty much say route.
Okay.
But I think that's wrong. Wesley says, Roanoke reminds me of the Asheville area. I really liked it up there. Parkway north into Shenandoah is very nice. Did we stay in Asheville?
I think so. But remember, there are multiple. There's an Asheville, North Carolina, right? And in Asheville, Virginia.
No, as far as I know, there's only in Asheville, North Carolina.
Okay, and we stayed in Asheville, North Carolina.
No, we didn't stay there. We ended the second trip there, and we began the third trip there, but we didn't actually stay in Asheville.
We stayed in Charlotte.
That was going up.
Yeah.
Yeah, Charlotte's not on the Parkway.
I was upset because I wanted to go to IKEA.
Yeah.
And that's a hint for people who are also IKEA shoppers and are trying to make road trips. Don't stop at IKEA when you're on the beginning part of a road trip, and don't start an IKEA trip when you are going to be adding additional items on to your car trip that might require you to maybe jettison parts of your cargo.
Yeah, on one of our trips we ended up with a car full of stuff from IKEA and almost no place to put our luggage. Yes, the Biltmore house is in Asheville, and that was
when
we went to do our third trip. We had actually looked at just driving straight to Asheville, getting up in the morning and touring the Biltmore House.
Weren't they doing repairs on it or something? That there was a reason that we just couldn't go.
I think it was just too far. And we wound up on our third trip. We wound up driving up to Chattanooga.
And that was like one night, like after work, wasn't it?
I think so. I think we just drove up. We got up there around midnight. We got up the next morning, went to Lookout Mountain, and then drove this little mountain road across Tennessee. Ended up at the end of the Blue Ridge Parkway. Drove up another highway through Gatlinburg. Spent the night up there, and then went to Asheville and hit the Blue Ridge Parkway south back to Cherokee.
Because we wanted to see what Gatlinburg looked like.
Yeah. And Gatlinburg is someplace. Excuse me. Got the hiccups. Gatlinburg is a place that we'd like to go at some point and just spend a weekend. But God, when we drove through there and we have a drive, we have a video of the drive through Gatlinburg. It was packed with people. It took us a half hour to drive 3 miles. I guess it was just the height of tourist season at the time. But at some point, yeah, we'd like to go up there and just spend a weekend at Gatlinburg and see the sights. I know there's all kind of stuff to do up there. I've been up there when I was younger, and
we see other videos of
we see a lot of videos
like
online of Gatlinburg.
Really come back nicely.
Yeah.
Such a nice, bright, sunny day on this day.
I think we must be into our second day.
Yeah, or at least the second trip.
Or the second trip, not the second day. I haven't been paying attention to the video.
See, it's interesting when you see some of those really
okay, now this is
vistas.
the beginning of the second trip.
Yeah.
We just got into the second trip.
You see just how far off into the distance you're able to see.
Yeah, when there's no fog.
Yeah, and I don't think we see any fog on this trip, on either of the subsequent trips. It was just the first
hazy.
morning that one day.
It was hazy on all 3 of the trips. Kerwin Jones says, I didn't know the whole stretch of the Blue Ridge Parkway from 1 to 469 going through 2 states don't take that long, a ratio of 12 to 1. Yeah, we are running this at about 12 times the regular speed. According to Google, you can drive this in 12 hours. The speed limit's 45 almost the entire way. It drops to 35 for a few stretches.
There are places where I don't recommend actually traveling 45.
Yeah, there's some places you really can't just because it's too hilly and windy and traffic. And Google takes traffic into account. I think it would be impossible to average 45 miles an hour across the whole trip. But theoretically at 45 miles an hour, 469 miles would only take slightly over 10 hours. So I guess 12 hours is a little
slow anyway.
Yeah, it's a little slow, but more realistic. Volume is a little low. Let's see.
Is it volume of just our voices, or is it volume of the whole?
Well, there's no other sound other than our voices.
Okay.
But we're peaking the meter.
Trust me, you don't want to hear us loud.
Yeah, we can talk louder, but it's not necessarily going to sound good.
But thank you for the input, of course. It's interesting to me to be able to notice how the trees are so different types.
That's what Midnight Mystery just pointed out, that the landscape is beginning to change. And it is, definitely. Now, of course, this is different lighting because it's a different time of year. This is later in the year. This was September of 2018.
Right. This was Labor Day weekend.
So the angle of the sun's a little bit different. Um,
We were thinking about that also when we were choosing our times to film, trying to prevent having to have huge amounts of shadow.
right. And the thing is I'm sure the scenery up there is beautiful as you get into the fall. Probably this time of year. Of course, at this point, it might be too late. The leaves might have fallen off all the trees, but I know the trees change colors up there. There's a big contrast from summer to fall. But the lighting, especially going south, the lighting would be terrible for doing video like this beyond September. If we ever were to do this kind of video anytime beyond the beginning of fall, we would have to do it going north. And the reason we wanted to do it going south is because that's how the highway's numbered, which is unusual for a highway in the United States. Normally they're numbered north to south, but south to north, but this one's numbered north to south. Let's see. Wesley says, I was up at Craggy Gardens yesterday. Colors are getting there. Yeah, I'm sure they are. It's not freezing up there. Because I know some parts of the country are already getting snow. Of course, here it's 70 degrees. We had a tropical storm blow through last night. Or early this morning.
Early in the morning.
Yeah. Slept right through it.
Parts of our town don't have power right now.
Yep.
Yeah, my dad even said that they've had snow a couple of times up there already.
That's in North Dakota.
But in southern North Dakota.
Oh, so getting on to the other things that we have filmed but not produced yet. We have a drive across I-94 from Minneapolis to Montana. Just over the Montana line.
We didn't go into Montana.
Yeah, we did.
Did we?
We went to the first exit of Montana
That's
and
right,
turned around.
Turned around.
We did not make it into Wisconsin, even though we were only about 5 miles from the border.
We were more than that, but
well, we were pretty close. We ran out of time. We were going to try to get all of the whole width of Minnesota and North Dakota. We have I-65 from Mobile to Birmingham, which I think we have some of I-65 north of Montgomery, but it's heading south.
yeah. And then we already showed that I-24, was it? The one that it goes from Memphis to
I-29.
29, that is?
Is it 29?
No, it's not 29.
24.
Is it 24? I'm pretty sure it is. It's a completely new interstate.
Yeah, it's whatever goes from Memphis to Birmingham.
Right, and it's actually not technically in Memphis. It begins in Mississippi on a former U.S. highway. It begins when it crosses from Tennessee into Mississippi.
So Wesley says, not freezing yet, light frost above 3,500 feet. Yeah, Dave, that storm just came out of nowhere. There was nothing. I knew that there was weather coming, but there was nothing even showing on the Hurricane Tracker app yesterday morning. And then there was a depression, and then it became a storm as it made landfall this morning.
Boy, was it a storm. I heard it. And it was lightning, really bad lightning and thunder. And it started at about midnight.
Let's see. Wesley says Montana's his goal next year. IR 10/03/1981. Hello.
Hi.
He enjoys watching our video. He or she.
Well, welcome to the
And
live.
Wesley can't hear us. Is anybody else having trouble hearing us, or is it just Wesley?
So we can speak more loudly if need be.
I try to holler into the mic, but...
And we don't have two mics. We should maybe consider...
Maybe we should move the mic closer.
Okay. Maybe we should consider getting a second one.
How's this for volume now? Midnight Mystery says it was supposed to be rain only. We didn't get much but wind this morning out on the coast. Well, we went to sleep. We were up really late last night. It was about 3:30 in the morning, and just as we decided it was time to shut out the lights and turn off the TV and go to sleep, there was a lot of lightning and thunder.
Outside.
And I fell asleep and woke up this morning and heard that there was debris all over the neighborhood. Half of our suburb here is out of power still. They've been out since 4 o'clock this morning. There was one spot a couple of blocks from here where utility poles came down. So there must have been some serious wind that we just completely slept through. Are we following the World Series? No, we do not follow baseball, unfortunately.
Mostly because we don't even have a major league team here, do we?
No, we just have the baby cakes.
Yeah. And with a team like that, I don't think they would sound very competitive. Here's the thing that I was worried about on our trip is all the rain. I thought we were going to get rained out. It was very scary.
The rain was an annoyance, but it was only through short portions of the video, because rain kind of ruins the video, but we weren't in any real heavy rain the whole time. And
it's just frustrating because we put so much planning into it, and we can't really move our trip based on the weather because we need so much time to be able to get to the beginning and be able to drive home from the end. So once we find out that it's going to be raining both of the days that we're going to be filming, we just have to go and hope for the best.
Yep.
And there's nothing that we can do. And we don't know if our windshield wipers are making it completely impossible to watch, or if it's better if we, put 200 coats of Rain-X on the windshield and let the wind blow off, which actually is something to think about.
Yeah, but then all you see is drops.
Yeah.
And light gets magnified through the drops and it messes up the video. But it depends on what you're watching the videos for. If you're watching the videos to see the scenery, you don't want to see rain. If it's just a matter of documenting the highway and what's on it, then the rain doesn't really matter as much. We prefer that there be no rain, though, because I don't like to drive in the rain at all.
No, it's less dangerous.
I'd rather park the car and wait until it stops raining.
Yeah.
And the streets are dry. Yeah, 601 Travels is asking about us being up till 3:30. What's your secret? I'm usually done by 11. Well, we usually are too, but it was Friday and we just stay up late watching. That's the problem, is we turn on the TV and we tend to not shut it off.
Yeah, there's always
until it's way past time.
Else.
And now we've gotten into watching live PD. It's something that we started with. We started watching live PD when we would go on trips and we would stay in hotels, and since we can't watch YouTube on the TV, we would actually tune into something on cable, and we started watching live PD. So that's kind of become a thing. After 2 weekends on the coast, we were watching it 2 weekends in a row, and now we're starting to watch it at home.
And especially because they have a live PD team out in Lafayette, Louisiana, which is pretty close to here. It's a completely different world as far as the atmosphere, but it's interesting. Oh, and there's also a team in Bozeman, Montana, which is a whole different world away from what is, bless you,
thank you,
in Louisiana, but still doesn't even really seem like home either, because
Yep.
it's just so different.
Styx Larson. The views of the mountains are great. I like those tunnels y'all went through. Awesome. That's Kerwin Jones. Thank you, Kerwin. Yeah, we still haven't gotten. We're in North Carolina now. We still haven't gotten to the one right after the other tunnels, but we're getting close to them.
Yeah, the North Carolina part was, to me, especially when I was looking at, the reason I say this, I was looking at a regular map and I was trying to just see how the map was oriented, where the road was doing in the state.
You think of it as north to south.
And it's not north to south at all. There are places where the road actually, you're going southbound on the road and you're traveling northeast. But the road is telling you, the rest of the road is going south, kind of southeast, but southwest rather. And you are on the road and you are literally traveling in a direction that is opposite to what the I guess ordinal direction is. Your actual direction of travel is opposite to what the direction of the map tells you that you are on.
Right. It's just because there's so many winds and curves and switchbacks, and
you travel so many more miles than you actually travel as the crow flies.
Yep. Towards the end of the parkway, you see these big yellow signs that have what looks like a question mark on it, and it's actually the shape of the curve you're getting ready to go around, because it makes like a 270-degree curve. Midnight Mystery says, Live PD used to be in Slidell. That's right. Yeah, they did have some in Slidell. I don't know. I don't know what happened to the Slidell crew. I guess there wasn't enough going on in Slidell or something, or maybe the contract just expired.
It seems like they very rarely go to anything too extreme in Lafayette. Lafayette seems...
No, I mean, it's all going to be just... It's
like a lot of
the
it's
same with all those different
policing.
places. Yeah. You know, I mean, they're not likely to go to a shootout.
No. No matter where it's at.
Because they probably wouldn't be able to put that on the air.
And it would possibly endanger the lives of all of the
camera
people,
crew.
The camera crew, right? And I remember there have been cases that when we watched it years ago, they would be in El Paso and be chasing people who would take them running, and you would hear the camera person would be really struggling to keep up with the police officer, and often the police officer that they were assigned to would have trouble as well. And
well, the police officer's carrying 100 extra pounds of equipment, but so is the cameraman. The cameraman's not trained to be running like that, like the police officer is.
I don't know how the police officers can carry all of the extra equipment that is their bodies and all of their equipment and their armor and everything. That's something I definitely couldn't do, not in my current state.
I think we're now into our third trip.
I think so too.
Because the lighting has changed drastically. Once again, I wasn't paying attention, but so this would be, what was it, May
Yeah.
of 2019?
Yeah.
And of course it's raining again. Yep, life and fast forward, but it's kind of cool to watch this because it's just like a long roller coaster.
Yep, we're just going up.
If
up,
only the
and
camera could have captured
what
the
was
ups
really
and downs
there.
of this, because I mean you can kind of see when you're going uphill and downhill, but you really have to be there for that.
Especially the downhill part, the long, not the long, because it certainly wasn't. It was a quick downhill at the end.
Yep. So just so everybody knows, we do have some other YouTubers in the chat with us today. We have Rogue Exploration. He does urban exploration videos and various other things. Check out his channel. We have 601 Travels, who does road trip videos similar to what we do. We have Roadway Wiz, who some of you may have come from his live stream that he did at a road meet up in Massachusetts earlier today. Who else do we have? I think that's it. That actually produces stuff for YouTube. Did I miss anybody? We got Rogue Exploration, Roadway Wiz, and 601 Travels. So everybody check out their channels. I'm still trying to figure out where we are. I wish I had the Camp Creek overlook, Linville Falls. We're about 3/4 of the way through right now. And considering this was May, I think we were a little too early in the year. It's just the direction that the parkway runs in most of the time is heading right into the sun. And so we did have some bad lighting on some of this. Brian, the weather down here, I was talking about that earlier. It's about 70 degrees. A tropical storm came through last night, so we got a lot of rain over the last 36 hours or so. There's supposed to be some cool weather coming in, but I don't know where it is because it hasn't gotten here yet. That was a deer that just ran across in front of us. Forgot about that. But yeah, I can imagine up in Illinois it would be kind of cold.
Gosh, I don't miss that. As much as I complain about being hot, it's so cold up north.
Yeah, that was one of the things we got to experience North Dakota in the summertime this year. My only previous experience had been when it was 0 degrees outside.
It was less than 0.
Below 0, yeah. It was very cold the first time we went. And this year we went in July, and it was hot during the day, and it was a nice 60 degrees in the mornings. And yeah, I could deal with that if it stayed that way year round. But yeah, Brian, that was a deer. We actually stopped for it. It was in the middle of the road. Of course, this is running so fast you didn't see that, but the deer was in the middle of the road, and the car in front of us kind of went around it, and we stopped and finally tooted the horn, and the thing took off. And there was one other deer. One of our viewers, C.D. Riley, actually picked it out. It was on the side of the road in one of the earlier videos. And that was the only wildlife we saw on the entire parkway. And now we're getting very close to the end. think this was the third to last video in the series. And now we're going to see lots of tunnels.
Yep. They seem so long when we're driving through them.
Yeah, they're really not long. None of them are more than a few 100 feet long.
Yeah, now this is the part where we're going down, and we could see the cars ahead of us are braking too much.
Well, this isn't the one yet. That was in the last 10 miles. They had a car in front of us that was on the brakes for the last 10 miles, and I know they had to have done some damage.
I thought it was a Volkswagen Passat or something.
That was actually a Chevy Cruze.
Oh, okay.
That's a Toyota, I think.
I'm just
like an Avalon.
I'm trying to when I was actually there, when we were there, I thought I remembered seeing a Passat.
There were so many different vehicles that we followed for miles and miles.
Yeah. We'd jump out of line to go to see an exit or something, and we wouldn't see them again for a while, but we'd eventually catch up to them, or they with us. It just blows my mind how they were able to build this narrow road, but really the fact that there's a road there at all is amazing. They were to build this road through what appears to be pure rock, and how it was able to be done years ago. I know that this wasn't completed until the late 1980s, but it just seeing how it is cut literally into the sides of these mountains, and that there is a road there, is a real testament to the capability of engineers.
And the tunnels too.
Yeah, the tunnels.
Because the tunnels date back to the 1930s.
Yeah, those are some of the oldest parts of the road.
Yep. Now, to be fair, they did follow the contours of the land in a lot of places, but you can see where they blasted out rock. You know, when you have those vertical rock walls alongside the road, that's because they blasted them out. But I think that's what they did. They used TNT.
Yep.
Or dynamite.
Because they're big places in Louisiana, even, where they've had to do that to build like I-49. And I-49 as it continues up into Missouri and Arkansas, and they're up into the I wanted to say the arcs.
49's pretty much flat.
In Louisiana it is.
Yeah.
But not once you get further north.
Well, the only part of 49 I've been on that's not in Louisiana is that little 10 miles that's in Arkansas before it ends.
Yeah, Arkansas, northern Arkansas.
Yeah, that's
very, very
that's a whole
rugged.
different set of mountains there.
Yep.
Yeah. And one day we're gonna do some road trips up there.
Yeah.
Arkansas has some really interesting terrain when you get up into the north. Okay, so we got a question. Let's see, we got a comment from Rogue. Those tunnels were cool. I wonder if that was limestone they had to blast through to build this road. No, I think it's something harder than limestone. I'm the wrong person to ask about that, but I know there's a lot of mica along the parkway. I'm not sure how hard mica is.
Mica is not very hard.
Mica's not very hard. Okay, but there's some harder rock, I think, than just limestone. But I really don't know. I don't know the answer.
I remember you talking about there being granite in some of the places.
Yeah, there is granite.
And granite's very hard.
Yeah,
one of the
granite
hardest
is
rocks that there is.
Oh, guess what? This is the third trip. We just hit Asheville.
Oh, okay.
Now, the third trip was very short. We only had 120 miles to go. Next question from Midnight Mystery. Were there times when you were far from places to refuel, eat, or use a restroom? The restrooms, there are visitor centers there's 4 or 5 visitor centers on the parkway. So, yeah, I guess theoretically you could be 50 miles from the nearest restroom. There's really no way to get off the parkway. There's no place to get gas on the parkway. The one time we had to get off to fill up, we had to drive it was about 10 miles out of the way to get to a gas station. There was a Walmart with gas pumps. Gas is the only main concern. There's 2 or 3 places. Well, I guess all the visitor centers sell some kind of snacks. There's one restaurant, and that's at that lodge. That's about halfway through. Well, actually, yeah, no, it's not even halfway through. It's about a third of the way through. No, there's 2 different lodges. And the lodges have food. All the visitor centers. Oh wow, I didn't cut that out. All the visitor centers have snacks and that kind of thing. But as far as finding McDonald's or Taco Bell, you got to get off the parkway, and it could be a considerable drive. When we ended our first trip,
oh boy,
I misread the map, and I thought by going to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, it would be a quick trip. Well, no, it was about 50 miles, and it put us over 100 miles out of the way. It was a long way. Raleigh is pretty close, and it's west of the Parkway. But yeah, I mean, to get to a nearby city, it's other than Asheville, it's a long haul. We did not take food and water with us. However, we were never on the Parkway that long, and I'll eat snacks, I mean, I'll just eat junk. I mean, we got on the Parkway. I had my big coffee. That was good for a few hours, and
I always have Gatorade.
Kari always has Gatorade. We always got at least an 8-pack of Gatorade with us. So we don't have to worry about stuff to drink. And of course, there's always junk to eat in the car because we were always stopping at a gas station somewhere and picking up some kind of crap to eat. It's never anything healthy, but we always have something to snack on. But we probably should keep water in the car. That would be a smart thing to do.
Well, I was, taking the free bottles of water that we would get at the Hiltons and
that's true.
Building them up in the car.
Yeah, and we always have those. So yeah, we do have water with us. And if we ever overheated, we could dump it in the radiator.
The sky is so blue.
Yeah, I think this was the best weather we had on the entire trip. Or the entire series of trips.
Because we can actually see how clear it is. There's no fog. Of course, we might actually be high enough up to where at this point we are above the high.
Yeah, we're approaching the highest point on the Parkway right now. We're climbing nearly 1,000 feet here.
That's right. I remembered that there was.
This is 6,053 feet. We stopped and took a picture at the highest point on the Parkway. So it's a little over a mile. And from here on, it's mostly downhill.
And
not
fast.
entirely, but it's mostly downhill.
guess for this time, I can be
Jason,
finding the answer to the types of rock.
yeah. Jay Scott says we will be cold at night, only 47 degrees Fahrenheit. And where are you, Jay? Are you in Texas? More tunnels here. And you'll see the elevation and meters flashing at the bottom of the screen. That was because I was talking through this whole thing about our elevation, and that's for the benefit of our non-American viewers who are on the metric system and don't understand feet. Each of the overlooks has the elevation in feet. And right now we've already descended 2,000 feet almost. But now we're going back up a little bit. It wasn't straight down until the last 20 miles, and that's when we really, really had a long, steep descent. And for anybody who wants to watch this again, if they have a bad signal, I'm going to upload this as a regular video. So, you know, you'll have a full greater than 1080p version of this you can watch. I just have to actually upload it because it's going to take a little while. All right, Brian, it was good having you on here. Thanks for joining us. You have a good night.
Take care, Brian.
So now we're getting into that final descent here. When you see the red Chevy Cruze in front of us, actually it's a little bit further than this. We still got, I think, one more tunnel. That might have been it. I believe that's the car right there. And you'll notice the brake lights stay on almost the entire time. Oh, it's not red. It's tan.
You're just thinking red as in red.
Well, yeah, the brake lights. Okay, there was another tunnel and another one.
There's so much greenery that's almost directly above us that it feels like we're in a tunnel.
Yeah,
for a lot of
the
it.
whole parkway, and that's it. Wow, that was fast.
Wow. Okay.
I didn't expect it to end that abruptly. But yeah, so that's it. That's the Blue Ridge Parkway, and
in 1 hour.
Yep.
Woo!
And this is where we're going to conclude our stream. So thanks everybody for joining us. Check out those other channels we mentioned. And like I said, we are going to upload a high resolution version of this. So if anybody wants to rewatch it without the annoying commentary, I'll just put some music to it. And a lot of people describe this as ASMR. You can use it to go to sleep to or something. But thanks for joining us. We're going to shut it off now. And if you liked us, give us a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, be sure and hit the subscribe button and hit that bell icon to be notified of all of our new videos.
If you have any suggestions for where our next trip should be, go ahead and include those in the comments.
Yeah, because we don't know where to go next. So
yeah, and that's the truth.
But anyway, that's it. We're out of here.
Thank you.
Join us for our next 504 road trip.